Did Ellen White not have understanding of design law? What she wrote in many places doesn't sound like she did. God will finally destroy rejectors of his grace, Great Controversy 543. She had absolute incredible understanding of design law. And when you read questions like God will finally destroy the rejectors of his grace, that's a statement. You should read widely and say, let me see where she describes how he destroys the rejectors of his grace. And when you read where she describes how he does it, I've got some quotes from her, if I can find where I put them. There's so many places she says this. Yeah, here's one. And this particular long quote, this is about several paragraph quote, was written and sent to Uriah Smith in the 1890s, who was the editor of the Signs of the Times, and it didn't fit with the same idea that the questioner is asking about. Uriah Smith had the idea that God uses power to punish sin. We just went through class how infinite wisdom doesn't do that. And so she wrote this to him. He filed it in the Signs of the Times files, where it was lost. And in the 1950s, it was discovered in her handwriting and published in the Selected Messages. You can find it first Selected Message 235. And the law of the Ten Commandments is not to be looked upon as much from the prohibitory side as from the mercy side. Its prohibitions are a sure guarantee of happiness and obedience. Pause. Parent says, you shall not play in the street. For the day you play in the street, you will surely die. Okay? Now, is that to be looked upon, well, rules to keep me from freedom or to protect me from harm and injury? Okay? And when you harmonize with God's laws, you actually protect yourself from damage. So, thou shalt not commit adultery. If you cheat on your spouse and your spouse never finds out, do you avoid damaging yourself, or do you see your conscience harden your heart? You have fear, you have anxiety, you have guilt, you have shame, you have all types of damage happening to you, even if your spouse never finds out and you never get a divorce. Isn't that right? You can't avoid this. So harmony actually protects you from damage and harm. And that's the only way health works. Its prohibitions are a guarantee of happiness and obedience. As received in Christ, it works in us the purity of character. What's that describing? Function, reality, design, that will bring joy to us through eternal ages. To the obedient, it is a wall of protection. We behold in it the goodness of God, who by revealing to men the immutable principles of righteousness, seek to shield them from the evils that result from transgression. Now notice what happened. This is it's blow your mind. We are not to regard God as waiting to punish the sinner for his sin. The sinner brings the punishment upon himself. His own actions start a train of circumstances that bring the sure result. Every act of transgression reacts upon the sinner, works in him a change of character, makes it more easy for him to transgress again. By choosing to sin, men separate themselves from God, cut themselves off from the channel of blessing, and the sure result is ruin and death. That's design law. That's how reality works. Sin severs our connection with God, hardens our heart, corrupts our character. God does not have a tribunal and say, you broke a rule, so now I'm going to inflict guilt on you. Now I'm going to harden your heart, make you less loving. Now I'm going to use power to make you unhappy. God doesn't do that. Happiness and health only come in living in harmony with God and how he built life to operate. The law is an expression of God's idea. When we receive it in Christ, it becomes our idea. It lifts us above the power of natural desires and tendencies, above temptations that lead to sin. Great peace have they which love your law. Nothing will offend them. I found this to be true in my life. When I have really embraced not rules, back when I was a child, back when I was growing up, back when I was in school, and I thought, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. There was no peace, there was no joy. It was disgruntledness. When I understood how the law of love works, the law of liberty works, the law of exertion works, the law of worship works. When I've understood that's reality, I wanted to live in it. Life is better that way. There's more joy in it. There is no peace in unrighteousness. The wicked are at war with God, but he who receives the righteousness of the law in Christ is in harmony with heaven. This is design law. And I could go on all that. I have pages and pages and pages of her writing. I would encourage you to go read Christ's Object Lessons, read Steps to Christ, read Desire of Ages. Pretty much everything she wrote after 1888, the Thoughts on the Mount of Blessing, it's all filled with design law descriptions.